friend. Welcome to After the Coffee. And if it's after the coffee, then it must be Wednesday, hump day, and we are halfway through our week. And I hope the start of your week has been productive and dynamic. And we only have a few days to go before we hit yet another weekend. So that being said, over the past 7 weeks, we've been talking about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and this is the 7th habit. This is the habit of renewal. Yes, it is habit 7, sharpen the saw. And let's talk about that. Now, I'm going to start this off with a story that Stephen tells about taking a hike into the woods and seeing this gentleman at a tree with a saw, and he's sawing away, and he's just sweating up a storm. And Stephen says, "What you doing?" The guy kind of looks at him. I'm cutting this tree down. He goes, "Wow, looks like a lot of hard work. Why don't you take a break? Sharpen your saw." He says, "I can't. I'm busy cutting this tree down." You know, so often we forget to sharpen our saw. We don't take the time to develop and learn the skills that we need to learn in order to become better at being us, for lack of a better term. Now, the 7th habit is very much near and dear to my heart from the standpoint of it's about continuous improvement, or Kaizen, which is something I teach. So I enjoy when things like that intertwine. Kaizen is incremental improvements every day, just small improvements, but maintained over a period of time. And that becomes, well, a big improvement. It's so important for us to invest our time into personal development, our own learning. You know, if you want to live a long life, stay curious. And curiosity leads us to learn more and more things about the world that we live in. It's not just interpersonal skills or social skills. It's about, well, getting out into the wilderness, into nature. Now, I've spent years rock climbing, probably about 15 years rock climbing, like that. In addition to that, I've gone on some cave expeditions. I'm always curious. I always want to see wondrous things. That's what keeps me motivated and excited about life. But it also develops within us productive capability. That we're always involved in an endeavor that we can really wrap our hearts around, our passions, pursue, whether it's painting or maybe coloring with crayons, I don't know, but hobbies and opportunities to go out and see the world and appreciate what's around us is a large part of sharpening the saw. You see, sharpening the saw increases the quality of our life, our productivity, our satisfaction with life, our satisfaction in relationships, and it improves our decision making. When we have a large scope of the world that we can draw from, then in decision making, it allows us with many different options. We become more creative. Unfortunately, this habit, sharpen the saw, falls into the quadrant 2. If you remember back, putting first things first, the 4 quadrants that I shared with you, and I'll share with them again. Quadrant 2 is the quadrant of planning and preparation. It's not urgent, but it's important. And so often gets overlooked because it doesn't demand our time. But if we don't take the time to sharpen our saw, we'll slowly find ourselves, well, falling behind and not being excited about things. As a matter of fact, when we don't sharpen the saw, that's where burnout begins. There are 4 dimensions to our life area. Right up is our physical well-being. It's important for us to eat nutritional food and get exercise, because if we have poor physical health, then all the other aspects of the medicine wheel will be affected. The next area is the mental. The mental and the physical are very closely connected due to body chemistry. If we don't eat well or we don't get exercise and our body is feeling ill, then our mind also goes into a fog and feels ill. It doesn't work well. The two are connected. As a matter of fact, everything is connected. But in this model, we need to understand that good physical well-being is directly related to good mental well-being. The next area of our life is the emotional. You can see now how this is building a full picture of every aspect of your life. Your physical aspect, your mental aspect, and now your emotional aspect. We have to understand that our limbic brain experiences emotions, and sometimes they're not always rational, or at least we don't always understand why we feel the way we feel. And reflection is important to that. Taking a look at what transpired and wonder why you feel the way you feel. But understand that the physical and the mental affect the emotional. Look, I have a tendency at times to get low blood sugar, right? So when I haven't eaten, I get hangry. See how the physical and the mental part of our aspect of being can affect our emotional. We can feel a certain emotion simply because we have not properly given our bodies nutrition or proper rest. So that's really important. It's interesting how each one of these areas is directly tied to and influenced by the other. Now, lastly, but certainly not least, is our spiritual aspect of our life. Now, it may be in religion, where we go to church and we honor our community in that way, or it could be taking a hike out into the wilderness like I did this morning. I went for a hike, sat at the base of Thunder Mountain, appreciating all of nature, the trees, the birds, the warmth of the sun against my skin, the sound of the wind breeze blowing through my hair. That replenished my spiritual energy, made me grateful. I felt gratitude for what the Creator has given me as a gift to sustain my life and my well-being, my physical, my mental, my emotional, and my spiritual. Take each one of these areas of the medicine wheel and ask yourself, what activities could you involve yourself in to improve in each aspect of the medicine wheel? You know, when we did 7 Habits training a few years back, we used to give a talking stick to all the students of the course, another Northern Native American tradition. There are many, over 500 tribes that have incredible wisdom and spirituality that we could learn from. Check it out. Do some research. Now, let's pop back down and take a look at the summary of our 7 habits. Over the past 7 weeks, we've been talking about the 7 habits. I want you to take the time to identify at least one habit, if not all 7, and share it with someone else. Share your thoughts around each of the habits. Share those things within those habits that you found to be most beneficial to you. But most importantly, take something and put it into practice. Now, you can get with a coach or someone else who is reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and they're working on incorporating those habits into their life. You know, it's like going to the gym. Having a partner is always valuable because there will be days when, well, you're just not up to it. But having a partner go, come on, we committed to doing this. Let's go. Right? That works with learning also. So find someone else, perhaps even your team at work. Now, look, once again, I don't get any money from the sales of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I merely share it because it worked so well with me that it might with you. And what makes it even more powerful is if you have a book reading session with your team. You go chapter to chapter and everybody shares their experience of that habit. And then they commit to something that they're going to implement as a part of that habit into their life. And as always, with any habit that you want to pick up, at least invest 30 days into practicing that habit. It is an area of psychology that explains that 30 days, arguably between 20 and 30 days, that's how long it takes for us to establish a habit and make it permanent in our life. So don't give up. Be patient. Work on it. Look, if you forget or it drops through the cracks, pick it back up. Because at the end of the day, this is your life. Now, you know you've become a person who lives the 7 habits when you are a person of transition in your life, in your relationships. Write and live by your mission statement. What matters most to you? What are you passionate about? And live those. Find a way of bringing those physically into your life. And don't forget to use the quadrant so that you identify what is important and put first things first. Try to eliminate quadrants 3 and 4 and live your life in quadrants 1 and 2, hopefully 2 being the most dominant. In your relationships and dealing with others, always seek for a win-win agreement to make sure that others get what they need beyond their expectations and that you look to get what you need that at least meets your expectations. And remember, always seek first to understand the other before being understood. Oftentimes, when we take time to listen to another person, we either can relate to them or we get a better understanding of where they're coming from. And then there's less chance of conflict because of our understanding. And again, it's important for us to value differences, not have a fear around people who are different from you, but have a curiosity around people who think or look or act differently from you. Gain insight, make an effort to understand, and remember, most importantly, make time to sharpen the saw. Don't be one of those too busy driving to forget to get gas or swatting the flies because you haven't fixed the hole in the screen door. All these habits are encompassed in the 7th habit. If you think about it, that if you practice the 7th habit, the other habits become automatic. However, that being said, I want you to make sure that you visit each of these habits every week and ask yourself, what am I doing in this area to enhance a new habit in my life? Now, that's it for the 7 habits. And I've really enjoyed covering it with you. I've gotten a lot of questions from my students about the 7 habits. And interestingly enough, a lot of commitments from them too. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Be proactive. Seek first to understand before being understood. And in the meantime, well, I hope you have a wonderful and enjoyable weekend. I'll see you on Monday for the next episode of Monday Morning Cup of Joe. And in the meantime, as always, my friend, lead well.